So in this chapter, Rup Goswami quotes about different verses from the different scriptures, especially from Srimad Bhagavatam, which are talking about that devotees don't desire for liberation, don't even desire for liberation. No, not only about, they don't desire only about, sorry, they don't desire, they don't desire only about Sai Mukti, but even they are not ready to accept any other for liberation, Samipya, Sarupya, Swasti, and Salokya. So that is what we are going to discuss in the chapter 4, Nectar of Devotion. So this we will very quickly cover this chapter. So hope you, I assume that you had gone through this chapter, you have read this chapter. Almost 10 pages were there in hard copy. So now how much, so let's start. How much a devotee is seriously attached to devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be understood from the statement of Maharaj Pruthu Adiraj, which is described in Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, 20th chapter, verse 24. So he prays to Supreme Personality of Godhead thus: My dear Lord, if after taking liberation I have no chance of hearing the glories of your Lordship, glories chanted by pure devotee from the core of their heart in praise of your lotus feet, and if I have no chance for this honey of transcendental bliss, then I shall never ask for liberation, for this is called spiritual emancipation. I shall simply always pray unto your lotus feet that you may give me millions of tongue and millions of ears, so that I can constantly chant and hear your transcendental glories. So this is how Rupa Goswami is beginning. How much devotee is seriously attached to devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be understood from the statement of Maharaj Prithu. So he himself is rejecting that. He is mentioning here that if after taking liberation I have no chance of hearing the glories of the real Lordship, glories chanted by pure devotee from the core of their heart in praise of your lotus feet, and if I have no chance for this honey of transcendental bliss, then I shall never ask for liberation or so-called spiritual emancipation. Okay, so basically he doesn't want. So basically here we are talking about Sai Mukti. He doesn't want that. Okay, but any kind of liberation where if he is missing this part, he will not accept. He is not ready to accept. That's what So in the next paragraph, it is clarified that impersonalists desire to merge into existence of the Supreme, but without keeping their individuality, they have no chance of hearing and chanting the glories of Supreme Lord, because they have no idea of transcendental form of Supreme Lord. Okay. There is no chance of their chanting and hearing of his transcendental activities. In other words, unless one is already beyond liberation, one cannot release the transcendental glories of the Lord, nor can one understand the actual form of the Lord. So basically, we should be beyond this concept of Sayuja Mukti. Okay, so that's what in even Upanishad it is mentioned that it is said, I think verse number 14 or 15, I could not remember, but it is said that, hey Lord, please remove the effulgence in front of you so that I can see your body clearly. Lord, sustainer of all that lives, your real face is covered by your dazzling effulgence. Kindly remove that covering and exhibit yourself to your pure duties. So impersonal effulgence means, impersonal liberations means merge into the Brahma Jyoti. So that is the point. So now if you see, similar statement is found in Srimad Bhagavatam. So now Rupa Goswami is quoting different statements which are deriding the liberation. So Sukdev Goswami addressed Parikshit Maharaj there and say, the great soul King Bharat was so much attached the service of the lotus feet of Krishna that he very easily gave up his lordship over earthly planet. And his affection for his children, society, friend, royal opulence, and beautiful wife, he was so very lucky that the goddess of fortune was pleased to offer him all kind of material concession, but he never accepted any of this material opulence. So Sukdev Goswami praised this behavior of King Bharat very highly. He says, any person whose heart is attracted to the transcendental qualities of the Supreme Person of Godhead Madhusudan does not care even for that liberation which is aspired to by many great sages. So what to speak of material opulence. So that is the point. Okay. So yeah. So same thing, we have taken the presentation. So I'm really grateful to Arshad Prabhu who has made this presentation. So from chapter number 4 of Nectar of Devotion. So same thing is taken from chapter 4, that but he has put the Sanskrit verse nicely and all. So that is what is quoted, right? Okay, so then Srimad Bhagavatam 5th canto, just to Devotional mentioned that. So we already saw that. So now then he again quote after some verses that from Vritrasur who addressed the Lord as follow. So na na kustam na cha paramestyam na sarvabhaumam na dasadipatyam na yoga siddhi apnuvar bhavam va samanjasva viraya kangshe. So he says, my dear Lord, by living your transcendental service, I may be promoted to the planet called Dhruva Loka, or I may gain lordship over all the planetary system of the universe. But I do not aspire to this, and nor do I wish the mystic perfection of the yoga practice, and nor do I aspire to spiritual emancipation. So, spiritual emancipation means liberation. So, all I wish for my Lord is your association and transcendental service eternally. So, that's very nicely explained in the chat. So, this statement is even confirmed by Lord Shiva there. Okay. So, statement is confirmed by Lord Shiva, where Lord Shiva addressed Sati. So, that is in Srimad Bhagavatam 6 canto 17th chapter, verse number 28. Narayanam para sarve naktashana bhipyati swarga apavarga narakesva apitulyartha darshina. So he says, my dear Sati, person who are devoted to Narayana are not afraid of anything. If they are elevated to the higher planetary system, or if they get liberation from material contamination, or if they are pushed down to the hellish condition of life, or in fact in any situation, whatever, they are not afraid of anything, simply because they have taken shelter of the lotus feet of Narayana. So for them, any position in the material world is as good as another. Means like even getting liberation is like going to higher planetary system, unless the service is not there for the Lord. So that is what for them, any position in the material is the liberation is also, if they get liberation from material contamination, so even the liberation is also considered in terms of material. So again, Indra's address Mother Sati Titi in in Srimad Bhagavatam, Aradhanam Bhagavata Ihamana Nirasisa Itu Nechanti Api Param Te Swartha Kushala Smriti. So he says, my dear mother, so Indra is telling to Diti A person who have given up all kind of desire and are simply engaged in devotional service to the Lord. Now, what is actually their self-interest? Such a person are actually serving their self-interest and are considered first-class expert in matter of advancing to the perfectional stage of life. Okay. So then again, the Prahlad Maharaj says, "Uste cha tatra kim alabhyam ananta adye kim terguna vyakti tarat iha se sasiddha dharmadhyah kim agunena cha कांक्षितेन सारं जुषं चरणयोर उपगयताम nah." So he says that, my dear friend, born in the atheistic family. So he's addressing to his classmates in his Gurukula. He's addressing to his classmates in the absence of their guru, teacher. Sorry, not guru, but teacher, you can say. And my dear friends, born into atheistic family, if you can praise the Supreme Person of God Krishna, then there is nothing more rare in this world. In other word, if the Supreme Lord Krishna is praised with you, then any desire you may have within the core of your heart can be fulfilled without any doubt. Then he says, as such, what is the use of elevating yourself by the result of fruitive activities which are automatically achieved in all events by the modes of material nature? And what is the use for you of spiritual emancipation or liberation from the material bondage? If you are always engaged in the chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord and always releasing the nectar of the lotus feet of the Lord, then there is no necessity of this. So even the Prahlad Maharaj here mentioning that, what is the use of having liberation? So what important point they are mentioning? That releasing the nectar of the lotus feet of Lord, okay, and always engage in the chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord. That's the point. So it's not that we don't only desire, sorry, it's not that we are not rejecting, devotees don't reject, sorry, devotees are only rejecting mukti. So one is negation and one is accepting positive aspect, engaging in the devotional service. So demigods offer the prayers from Narasimha Dev. King Indra says that, what he says that, Satyanitah param bhagvata trayatanaha svabhagah bhaga तेत्याक्रांतम हृदय कमलम तद्ग्रहम प्रत्यबोधि कालग्रस्तम कियद्विदम अहो अहो नाथ शुश्रूषताम ते मुक्तिस्ते सम नहीं बहुमता नारासिंहम नारासिंहा परे किम. So he says that Indra is telling that, oh Supreme One, this demon talk of your share of participation in the performance of ritualistic sacrifice, but simply by your appearance as the Lord Narasimha Dev, you have saved us from terrible fear. Actually, our shares in the sacrificial performance are due to you only, because you are the supreme enjoyer of all sacrifice. You are the super soul of every living entity. Therefore, you are the actual owner of everything. Long were your heart always filled with fear of this demon, our heart, Hiranyakashipu. But you are so kind towards us that by killing him, you have removed that fear from within our heart and have given us the chance to replace your lordship within our heart again. So, for person who are engaged in the transcendental loving service of your lordship, all the opulence which are taken away from us by the demons are counted as nothing. So repeating again, for person who are in transcendental loving service of your lordship, all the opulence which are taken away from us by the demon are counted as nothing. So if someone is engaged in the devotional service of the Lord, then the whatever opulence demon is taken from Indra, like Hiranyakashipu is taken from Indra, is counted are counted as nothing, no value. Then he says, devotee do not care even for liberation. What to speak about this material opulence? Actually, we are not enjoyer of the fruits of sacrifice. Our only duty is to always be engaged in your service, for you are the enjoyer of everything. So even this statement is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, so where Krishna says, "Bhoktaram Pasam Sarvaloke Maheswara, Surdam Sarvabhutanam Gyatvam Santiruchiti." So he mentions that. Again, Gajendra says that Ekanti no yasya na kanchan artham vanchanti ve bhagavad prapanna ati adbhutam tacharitam sumangalam gayanta ananda samudra magnaha. So says that, my dear Lord, I have no experience of the transcendental bliss derived from your devotional service. Therefore, I have asked from you some favor. He has asked, what was the situation? So Gajendra was in trouble due to crocodile. So he was in trouble. Okay. So he says, but I know that person who are pure devotees and have, by serving the lotus feet of great souls, become free from material desire, are always merged in the ocean of transcendental bliss. As such, are always satisfied simply by glorifying your auspicious characteristic. For them, there is nothing else to aspire to or pray for. Even they don't aspire anything. They just want service. Even they don't pray even in the difficult. But as we had gone through, you might have remembered that no, it's life critical situation. It's a temporary. Yeah, our tendencies are not like that. We saw the case of Draupadi and Gajendra in the chapter 1 or somewhere. So there it was mentioned that what in the characteristic of pure devotional service, what we mentioned, that okay, we don't desire anya bilasita sunyam jnana karma denavtam anukulyana krishna anushilana bhaktiruttam. Then what is another verse? Sarva upadir nirmuktam tat paratvena nirmalam rishikena rishikesa sevanam bhaktiruttam. We don't desire anything. Okay, just to serve the Krishna. But even sometime life critical situation come, like the Gajendra and the Draupadi, who was being naked. So in such a situation, they didn't have a tendency to ask something from the Lord, but the situation was so difficult. Temporarily they asked, and later on they didn't develop that habit of asking again and again. So okay, that's okay. But Gajendra himself, his humility, but I have asked from you of some favor. But I know that person who are pure devotees and have become free from material desire are always merged the ocean of transcendental bliss. And what? For them there is nothing else to aspire but pray for, except glorify your auspicious characteristic. So their satisfaction is to just glorify. So then again, Lord of Vaikuntha replied to the Durvasa Muni that Ekantino Yasya Kanchana Artham Vanchanti. This is something. Okay. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said that Indra is telling to Durvasa Muni that what he says, my pure, sorry, not Indra, but Lord Krishna. But Vaikuntha tells to Durvasa Muni that my pure devotee are always satisfied being engaged in devotional service, and therefore they do not aspire even after the 5 liberated stage. Which are to be one with me to achieve residence on my planet Salokya. First is Sayujya, second is Salokya. They have my opulence. So it's like to possess bodily features similar to mine to gain a personal association with me. So Samikya, Sarupya, and Srashti. When they are not interested even in this liberated position, they know how little they care for material opulence or material liberation. So similar words come in Damodar Ashtakam. Varam Deva Moksham Na Mokshavadimma Na Chanyam Runeham Varesadapiha. Even they don't aspire for liberation. Or kind of, when first time I heard, then I was thinking, what should we aspire then? So I heard this thing, I heard that this verse almost 8 years ago, the definition of Varam Deva Moksham Na Moksha Vadimva. The Nag Patnis prays to Krishna that Nanak Prashtam Na Cha Sarva Bhomam Sarvabhaumam Na Parmeshyam Na Rasadipatyam Yoga Siddhir Apunar Bhavam Va Vanchanti Yat Pad Raja Prapanna. So they are saying, dear Lord, the dust of your lotus feet is very wonderful. Any person who is fortunate enough to achieve this dust does not care for heavenly planets, lordship over all planetary system, mystic perfection of yoga, or even liberation from material existence. So, in other words, anyone who adores the dust of your lotus feet does not care a fig for all other perfections. So, statement after statement that devotee don't aspire even for liberation. Then Shrutis, the Veda personified, this comes in 87th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto. So there are wonderful verses, prayers by personified Veda. So says, Turvagamatam Tattvanigamaya Tavatanus Charita Mahamrita Bihi Parivarta Parisramaha Prali Na Parilasanti Kechit Apapargam Apisvarate Charana Saroj Hamsa Kula Sangha Visrusta Griha. So he says, dear Lord, so Vedas are saying that, dear Lord, it is very difficult to understand spiritual knowledge. Veda are telling. So personified Veda, they are telling. So, so then he said, no, Veda, no, Vedic knowledge himself. They are speaking in front of Lord. Can you imagine? So it's the prayers of Veda. So Vedas are personification. So then your appearance here, just as you are, is to explain to us this most difficult subject of knowledge of spirit. Lord Krishna is they are saying that Lord Krishna has appeared on the earthly planet to explain the most difficult subject of knowledge of the spirit. As such, your devotees who have left their domestic comfort to associate with the liberated acharyas are now fully merged in the devotional service of the Lordship. And thus, they do not care for any so-called liberation. So what they are saying, as such, the devotee who have left their domestic comfort to associate with the liberated acharyas are now fully merged in the devotional service of the Lordship. And thus, do not care for any so-called liberation. So then, the 11th canto, he says to Uddhava that Kinchit sadavo dhira bhakta hi ekantino mama vanchanti api maya dattam kevalyam apunarbhavam. She says, my dear Uddhava, the devotee who have completely taken shelter of my service are so steadfast devotional service, they have no other desire. Even if they are offered the four kind of spiritual opulence, So four kind of liberation beyond Saivya Mukti, as we already discussed, Samipya, Sarupya, Salokya and Srashti. What will they do? They will refuse to accept them. So what to speak of that desire, anything within the material. So four kind of spiritual opulence means he's talking about four kind of liberation. So then again he says, think the verse is wrong. Yeah. So again, he says that, my dear Radhava, a person whose consciousness is completely absorbed in my thought, the activity does not aspire even to occupy post of Brahma. So Brahma is the highest, greatest living entity in this universe. Means a living entity in the sense that who is Jivatma. So they don't want the post of Brahma or the post of Indra or the post of lordship over planets or the eight kind of mystic perfection or even liberation itself. The liberation itself. So what do they want then? The devotional service. So if they just want devotional service unto the Lord. Lord Shiva says to Devi that Sri Bhagavan Vacha Nivechati Asisah Kvapi Brahma Arsit Moksham Api Utta Bhaktim Param Bhagavati Labdhavan Puruse Avyaye. So he says, my dear Devi, this great Brahmana sage, Markandeya, has attained unflinching faith and devotion unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And as such, it does not aspire after any benediction, including liberation from this material. So what was the benediction for Markandeya Rishi? Is a benediction that however many hairs on his body, that many millennium he can, Manvantara he can live. So in one day of Brahma, how many Manvantaras are there? 71. Okay. So in one Manvantara, how many Chaturyugas are there? 14 Manus are there, right? In one day of Brahma. So in one Manu there are 71 Chaturyuga. One Chaturyuga, how many earthly years? 43,20,000 years. So one Chaturyuga consists Kali Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, Treta Yuga and Satyuga. So that is one Chaturyuga. So one Manu lives for 71 Chaturyuga, and similar 14 Manus make one day of Brahma. So how many years Markandeya Rishi can live? This is a Damodara Ashtakam. That now Varam Deva Moksham na Mokshavatim va na Chanya Vruneham Varesa Dapiha. So the Damodar form refers to Krishna in his childhood. So we can see what was the glory of Markandeya Rishi. So Lord Shiva says that having experienced the bewildering potency arranged by Lord, Markandeya took the Lord's shelter. So this is Markandeya. So this comes. Then Markandeya prays to Lord, I take shelter of the soul of your lotus feet, which bestow fearlessness. So Lord Shiva approached Markandeya to place. Lord Rudra, his consort and company observed Markandeya in trance. So Goddess Uma said that his body, mind and senses like water of the ocean, not agitated by wind and fish. Please award him perfection. And Lord Shiva says to Parvati that he has attained PDS, means pure devotional service. There is no desire, liberation, benediction. And he says, still let us talk with him, associate with saintly duties. Association with the saintly duties makes highest. Says that surely this saintly Brahmana does not desire any benediction, not even liberation itself, for he has attained pure devotional service into an exhaustible personality of Godhead. So Markandeya Rishi asked for devotion. So he says, what he asked for devotion. Having seen you, what other benediction can I ask for? Simply by seeing your person fulfill all his desire and can achieve anything imaginable. And he says what he asked from the Lord. I asked to have unfailing devotion for the Supreme Person of Godhead. So he asked from the Shiva. So I asked to have unfailing devotion for the Supreme Person of Godhead, for his dedicated devotee, especially you. Yes, worship and glorify by the sage Lord Shiva, encouraged by his consort, replied to him as follow. What he replied? So all your desire will be fulfilled. Lord Shiva is telling to Markandeya Rishi. Enjoy pious fame, freedom from old age, live until end of this creation cycle. Creation cycle means this one year of Brahma. So in 1 year of 1 day of Brahma, 14 Manus are there. Okay, so similar 360 days make 1 year of Brahma, and Brahma live for 100 years. 360 into 14, how much? 360 plus 144 means 504. 5040 Manus are there in 1 year. So similar 100. So 50,400 Manus. Manvantara he has got this benediction. Okay. So he can live until to the creation cycle. Okay. So knowledge of past, present, and future is available with him. He has a transcendental realization of the Supreme Lord. He is renunciate. So he is a post of the spiritual master of the Puranas. That is the glory of Markandeya Rishi. Okay. So it's not ordinary thing. So he is desiring. He doesn't die. Like we just live even hardly 70 years. In Kali Yuga, there are 4,32,000 years. In one Chaturyuga, 43,20,000 years. So it is Parasar Muni. So he says that, my dear Lord Damodar, once when you were playing as a naughty boy in the house of Nanda Maharaj, broke the box containing yogurt. Because of that, Mother Yashoda considered you an offender and tied you with rope to household grinding mortar. So at that time, you deliver the two sons of Kuvera, Nal Kuvera and Manigrova, who were staying there as to Arjun trees in the yard of Nanda Maharaj. My only request is that by your merciful pastime, you may similar deliver me. So just he want to see the pastime of Lord Krishna. I don't even want desire. So in the previous verse it is said. So then, Hayasir Pancharat Ratra, it is said, there is a passage in the Hayasir Pancharat that states, my dear Lord, a supreme person of Godhead, I do not want any resultant benediction from my religious life. Nor do I want any economic development. Nor do I want to enjoy sense gratification nor liberation. I simply pray to the eternal servant at your lotus feet. Kindly oblige me and give me this. And again it is said, after Narsimha they wanted to give benediction to Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj not accepted any material benediction and simply asked the favor of the Lord to remain in his eternal as his eternal devotee. So in this connection, Prahlad Maharaj cited the example of Hanuman. He gave the example of Hanuman. Eternal servitor of Lord Ramchandra also set an example by never asking any material favor from the Lord. That means Lord Ramchandra generally comes in Treta Yuga, right? And before Lord Ramchandra, Simha, Prahlad Maharaj is giving the example of Hanuman. That is another question. So in this connection, Prahlad Maharaj cited the example of Hanuman, the eternal servitor of Lord Ramchandra, who also set an example by never asking any material favor from the Lord. He always remain engaged in the Lord's service. That is the ideal character of Hanuman, for which still worshipped by all the devotees. When Hanuman achieved so much great position that he is being worshipped by devotees. Okay. So I remember in Chaitanya, I was reading Chaitanya Charitamrita in Madhya Leela, chapter 9, where even the Lord Chaitanya, after meeting Ramanand Rai and he was about to leave the company of Ramanand Rai to have for touring, for entering South India. So at that time, after after getting a farewell from Ramanand Rai, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sleep in the night. The next morning, he goes to the village Hanuman temple and he offers the obeisance to Hanumanji. So when you read that Chaitanya Charitamrita, you can find at many places that Lord Chaitanya offered the respect to Hanumanji and Lord Shiva. And even he went to Mallika Arjun, which is one of the 12 Jyotirlinga. So he visited there. He offered, so he respect his devotee. Lord Shiva is Vaishnavana Matha Sambhu. So respect them. So Mallika Arjun is in Hyderabad. Okay, I think on the other side of which river I forgot. Krishna river, no, not Krishna. I think Krishna. Okay. So he always remain engaged in the Lord's service. That is the ideal character of Hanuman, for which still worshipped by all the devotees. Prahlad Maharaj also offered his respectful obeisances unto Hanuman. There is well-known verse spoken by Hanuman in which he says, "My dear Lord, if you like, you can give me salvation from this material existence, or the privilege of merging into your existence, but I do not wish any of these things. I do not want anything that diminishes my relationship with you as a servant to master, even after liberation." Such a high level of position. So now the question comes, how Prahlad Maharaj is giving the example of Hanuman. So, it's possible that this past time happened in different. So there are different avatars, Leela avatar, Manvantar avatars, Yuga avatars, then Purusha avatars, Guna avatars. One more thing is pending: Leela avatar, Guna avatar, Purusha avatars, Manvantar avatar, Leela avatar, Guna avatar, Purusha avatar, Manvantar avatar, Yuga avatar, and then one I think is pending. कौन सा हो गया? लीला अवतार, गुण अवतार, पुरुषोत्तम अवतार, मनवंतर अवतार, गुण अवतार एंड युग अवतार. 6 हो गए. So this past time might have happened in another manvantar or maybe another kalpa, but since Prahlad Maharaj has got the knowledge from Narad Muni, so Narad Muni is liberated, so he might have seen the Ramayana in another manvantar or another kalpa or whatever. And that story he might have told to Prahlad Maharaj. So that's why Prahlad Maharaj remembers. It may be another Kalpa or another Manvantar or maybe another Chatur Yuga. Okay. So it is said in Narad Pancharatra that, so sometime we talk about red boar incarnation and white boar incarnation. So Svet Varaha Avatar and Rakta Varaha Avatar. So Varaha Avatar एक ही बार आया हो तो दो अलग अलग क्यों? That may be another different Manvantara. So Narad Pancharatra says, my dear Lord, I do not wish any perfectional stage by performing ritualistic religious ceremony or by economic development or by sense gratification or liberation. So they are, they say, I don't want anything from Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha in relation to Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. I simply pray that you grant me the favor of keeping me under your lotus feet. Not any kind of blessing, such as Salokya, Sarokya. I simply pray for your favor that I may be always engaged in your loving service. So then, Maharaj Parikshit inquired from Sukdev Goswami that Muktanam api siddhanam Narayana Parayana Sudurlabha Prasantatma Koti Swapi Mahamune. So he says, my dear, So he says, he inquired from Sukdev Goswami that, "O great sage among many millions who are liberated and perfect." So there he says, perfect in knowledge of liberation, one may be devotee of Lord Narayana or Krishna. So such a devotee who are fully peaceful are extremely rare. So what he Parikshit Maharaj is saying, "O great sage among many millions who are liberated and perfect in knowledge of liberation, one may be devotee of Lord Narayana." So you are liberated doesn't mean that you are devotee of Lord Narayana or Krishna. Such a devotee who are fully peaceful are extremely rare. So if you remember this verse in Srimad Bhagavad Gita that Monam Chandramante Gyanvan Mam Prapadite Vasudevam Sarvam Samatmadite. And before that verse comes 7.16. 2 days ago we discussed Chaturvida Bhajante Mam Jana Sukritina Arjuna Artho Artadi Jigyasu Gyanishya Parasarsabha. Out of so many billion living entity, there are four kind of people approach the Supreme Lord and four kind of people do not approach the Lord. So who do not approach? So he says that Namam Tuskritino Muda. Namam Tuskritino Muda Prapadyante Naradhava Maya Parta Jnanam Asurin Bhava Masita. Tuskritina, four kind of Duskritina never approach to Lord. Namam Duskritina Muda, those are foolish. Duskritina Prapadyante Naradhama, those are lowest among the mankind. Maya Aparta Jnana, whose knowledge is stolen by the Maya, and one is demonic mentality, Asurim Bhava Masrita. They don't approach. Then four kind of people approach the Lord. So let's say 50%. Four kind of people approach the Lord, but so there are four kind of people who do not approach the Lord. Four kind of people who approach the Lord. Each are four. Chaturvida bhajante mam jana sukrita arjuna artho arthan jigyasu jnaneshya parasarsa. One who is in the need of, one is in the life critical situation, difficulties. One who is in the need of money. One who is jigyasu and one who is in a want of knowledge, devotee or you can say. So they are neophytes. So four kind of people don't approach the Lord. One kind of people approach the Lord. There are another category of people who approach the demigods, or they accept the gods without understanding the shastras. There are different kind of people, gradation of the people. So out of those who have accepted the supremacy of the Lord, Chaturvita Bhajante Mam Jana Supritino Arjuna, Artho Arthati Jigyasu Jnani. So Jnani is the highest compared to Artho Arthati Jigyasu. Then what about in the Jnanis he says, Bhaunam Janmanamante Jnanvan Mam Prapadyate Vasudevam Sarvamiti Samatma Sudharlabha. So out of so many Bhaunam Janmanamante Jnanvan Mam Prapadyate Vasudevam Sarvamiti Samatma Sudharlabha. Bhaunam Janmanamante Jnanvan means out of those Jnani, after many birth, Lord Krishna says Jnanvan will Prapadante surrender to Krishna, considering him to be the everything, source of everything. And this is 7.3 Manushanam Astresu Kashit de Etadam Kanchin Mavit. So out of hundreds of Manushanam Sahastresu, out of thousands of hundred human beings, one endeavor for the perfection, Siddhanam, Tashiratade Siddhanam. Tataamapi Siddhanam, out of those hundreds and thousands of perfectionists, only one knows. Yataramaphi Siddhanam Kanchin Ma Veti Tattva. Only one knows him knows him in truth. So here Parikshit Maharaj is saying that great sage among many millions who are liberated and perfect in knowledge of liberation, one may be devotee of Lord Narayana. Okay, such a devotee who are fully peaceful are extremely rare. That's what he's saying. Hope so. This is clear. And then he says here that next that Queen Kunti is praying to Lord Krishna. So when after Mahabharat war, when Krishna was leaving the company of Pandava to go to Dwarka, attend another business. So Queen Kunti is praying the Lord at that time. What's he saying? Tatha param hansanam muninam amal atmanam bhakti yoga vidan artham katham pasye mahi striya. So he says, Queen Kunti is telling, huh? This is the word of Queen Kunti. Okay. So she's saying in the Canto 1, chapter 8, verse 20, my dear Krishna, you are so great that you are inconceivable even to great stalwarts, scholars, and Paramahansa. So that similar verse is in Brahma Samhita, where it is said, Panthastu koti satavatsara sampragamyo vayo rathapi manaso muni pungavanam sopi asati yat prapadya simya vichintya tattva govindamadi purusam tamam bhajami. So then before that there is another verse. Advaitam achyutam anadim anantarupam adyam purana purusam navyovanam cha. The next line is Vedesu sudurlabha Vedesu durlabha sudurlabha adurlabham atma bhakto govindam adi purusam. It's very very difficult to find in the Veda. Very difficult to understand the Lord even through Veda. So then in the next verse, the Panthastu Koti, it says that even if you try to understand the Lord with the speed of mind, Panthastu Koti, what's millions of years, still you cannot understand the Lord. Okay. So then in this verse, Kunti is telling, my dear Lord, you are so great that you are inconceivable even to great stalwarts, scholars, and Paramahansa, fully liberated soul. So if such a great sage who are transcendental to all reaction of material existence, so if such a great sage who are transcendental to all material reaction of to all the reaction of material existence are unable to know you, then as far as we are concerned, belonging to less intelligent woman class, how is it possible for us to know your glory? So it's humility of Kunti Maharani. Okay. So how can we understand you? In Kunti is telling. So, so even the great stalwart could not understand it. Then who am I? Who we are? So it is said in Srimad Bhagavatam that Sutuvaja Atmaramascha Munnayo Nigrantha Api Gurukrame Ruvanti Ahetu Kim Bhaktim Itham Bhuta Kuno Hari. So it says that Sud Goswami said all different varieties of Atmarama, those who take pleasure in Atma or soul, especially those established on the path of self-realization, though freed from all kind of material bondage, desire to render unalloyed devotional service unto the personality of Godhead. This means that the Lord possesses transcendental quality. Therefore, everyone liberated souls. Who liberated are also attracted by the Krishna. Okay. So similar thing in the same chapter when you go towards end. Okay. So the purport of this verse is that liberated soul has absolutely no desire at all for material enjoyment. Is wholly freed from all kind of material desire, and still is irresistibly attracted by the desire to hear and understand the pastime of the Lord. Even liberated soul are irresistibly attracted by desire to hear, understand the pastime of the Lord. We may therefore conclude that the glories and pastime of the Lord are not material. Otherwise, how could the liberated person known as Atmarama be attracted by such a pastime? So that is the important point. So now the conclusion is that from the above statement is found that devotee is not after any stage of liberation. So there are 5 liberation, Sahyujya, Samyukya, Sarupya, Salukya, Srashti. Okay. To have a okay. So out of this liberated stage, the one which is Sahyujya or to merge into the existence of the Lord is the last to be accepted by the devotee. Devotee don't prefer Sahyujya Mukti at all, to merging to the Brahmajyoti, to merging with the Lord. They prefer if Lord awards them. We don't aspire, that is different thing, but Lord awards, that is another point. We should not aspire. It doesn't mean that Lord will not award you the liberation. That's what we discussed yesterday, right? That if we don't aspire, it doesn't mean that Lord will not award the liberation. Okay, so that is the hope for the devotee. That is the other 4 liberation, though not desired by the devotees, are still not against the devotional ideas. So 4 are devotional. We can aspire, but that is not a pure devotional service. Some of the liberated person, now this is very important, who have achieved this 4 stage of liberation. So when they achieve this 4 liberation, they go to Vaikuntha. So liberation may also develop attraction for Krishna or promoted to the Golaka Vrindavan planet in the spiritual side. Now, why these are in Vaikuntha? So Sayuji we don't aspire. So there is no case of having Sayuji in this one. Sorry, having Vaikuntha in this case. So to live on the same planet of the Lord, to obtain the bodily feature of the Lord, there were we. So some of the liberated person who have achieved this 4 stage of liberation may also develop attraction for Krishna and be promoted to Golaka Vrindavan planet, the spiritual sky. In other words, those who are already promoted to Vaikuntha planet, possess the 4 kind of liberation, may also sometime develop affection for Krishna and become promoted to Krishna Loka. This is very, very important. So 4 kind of liberation means Vaikuntha. I have put it in the chat. So those who are in the 4 liberated state may still going through different stages of existence. In the beginning, they may want the opulence of Krishna, but at the mature stage, the dormant love for Krishna exhibited in Vrindavan becomes prominent in their art. So now in Vrindavan, if you see, people are not attracted by the opulence. There is one Chandra Sarovar nearby Govardhan. So that is which Vasantiya Ras Yatra, Sarad Purnima aane wali. So that is from Sarad Ras Yatra. So then Vasant, there is another Ras Yatra, Ras Yatra happened. So during that Ras Yatra near Govardhan Chandra Sarovar, once the gopis are searching for Krishna and they saw Narayan. Krishna has taken the form of Narayan. So what did they do? They just offer the obeisance to Narayan and they ask, have you seen our Syam Sundar? That's what they ask. They are not even attracted by Narayan. They just offer the obeisance. Okay. So in Vrindavan, what is the prominent? Vrindavan, the love for Krishna is prominent. Okay. So in Vrindavan and in Dwarka, the opulence of Krishna is prominent. Okay. So that's the difference. In Mathura also opulence. Okay. So those who are in the 4 liberated stage may still going through different stages of existence. In the beginning, they may want the opulence of Krishna, but at the mature stage, the dormant love for Krishna exhibited in Vrindavan becomes prominent in their art. So you can advance gradually, just like Lakshmi. She wanted to participate in Raslila. She could not. Okay. Narad Muni wanted to take part, wanted to participate in uh, Raslila. He needs to become in the form of lady. So he entered in the northeast corner of Kusum Sarovar. Then he became Narad to Naradi. So then he participated in Ras Yatra. Then again he has to become Narada. So he entered in the northwest corner of Kusum Sarovar. Okay. So as such, pure devotee never accept the liberation of Sahaja to become one with the Supreme, though sometimes they may accept a favorable other for liberated state. So they accept, they don't aspire, that is different. When Krishna offer, they will accept. So out of many kind of devotees of the Supreme Person of Godhead, the one who is attracted to the original form of the Lord Krishna in Vrindavan is considered the foremost first class devotee. So devotees of Lord Krishna are foremost first class devotee. Such a devotee is never attracted by the opulence of Vaikuntha or even of Dwarka, the royal city where Krishna ruled. They are not attracted by the opulence of the Krishna. Okay. The conclusion of Sri Rupa Goswami is that the devotee who are attracted by the pastime of the Lord in Gokula or Vrindavan are the topmost devotee. Okay. That is the conclusion of Rupa Goswami. That's why in Nectar of Instruction, in last what he says, Vaikuntha Chanito Hare Madhupuri Tatra Prasutswada. Anyway, I'm not going to Nectar of Instruction, but you can read. We had already covered Nectar of Instruction. Last three verses talks about similar thing. Mathura is superior to Vaikuntha, the transcendental world, because the Lord appears there. Superior to Mathurapuri is transcendent forest of Vrindavan. So in Vrindavan, the Govardhan hill is the highest. In Govardhan, the Radha Kund is the culmination. Why? Because most of the pastime of Lord Krishna and gopis happened there. So Vrindavan is the transcendental place where Krishna. So conclusion is a devotee who is attached to a particular form of the Lord does not wish to redirect his devotion to other form. So conclusion is, what is the conclusion? That conclusion of Rupa Goswami is that the devotee who are attracted by the pastime of the Goloka, sorry, of the Gokula, Vrindavan are the topmost devotee. But sometimes devotees who are attracted to another form of the Lord, they don't want to change. So the example is Hanuman. And there are so many such example. It comes in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So devotee who is attached to particular form of the Lord does not wish to redirect his devotion to other form. For example, Hanuman, the devotee of the Lord Ramchandra, knew that there is no difference between Lord Ramchandra and Lord Narayan. And yet he still wanted to render service only unto Lord Ramchandra. That is due to specific attraction for particular devotee. Sorry, specific attraction of particular devotee. There are many forms of the Lord, but Krishna is still the original form. So all of the devotee of the different form of the Lord are in the same category. Still, it is said that those who are devotee of Lord Krishna are the topmost in the list of all. So that way, we conclude this chapter. That pure devotional service surpass all liberation. Okay. So thank you very much. So these are mostly the quotes from different scripture. From there, the conclusion is derived that even for them the most important thing is service unto Supreme Personality of Godhead. So thank you very much. I express my gratitude to Harshad Prabhu, Harsh Prabhu. They helped me to make this presentation. Thank you very much. They didn't help me, they only made. Okay. So any question, comment, feedback? You have just 2 minutes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I have one question outside of this topic, which is
तो बाद में लेते हैं प्रभु जी, क्योंकि अभी ना
yes,
दूसरा क्लास है,
वो
ठीक है ना?
इसीलिए पूछूं
हाँ,
Prabhuji. हाँ,
हाँ।
Prabhuji, another question is that
कोई
when
इस रिलेटेड का कोई क्लास है तो सॉरी, ये क्लास के रिलेटेड कोई क्वेश्चन है तो मैं ले लेता हूँ।
about that question also, if I call you personally, it won't be it won't be like inconvenience, na, Prabhuji, for you.
Yeah.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Hare Krishna. So can someone start pranam mantra? Shorter one.
ओम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे।
Please give me few minutes. Huh?